Hi, I'm Lisa, or Liz for friends. Have you ever taken for granted something wonderful that's right under your nose? Or someone? This happens, but let me tell you from the beginning. These are my best friends, Jerry, my classmate, and my childhood friend. We got into a lot of trouble together and started being friends when we lived next door. And this is Tiff, my friend from school. We often hang out at my place or after class. We're really close, but unfortunately, Jerry and Tiff don't really get along. I'd say when I'm not there, they drift apart. And this wasn't okay with me. Maybe they felt uncomfortable around each other, didn't like each other. I thought I should find out. I met Jerry and asked what he thought about Tiff. I told him I saw how uncomfortable he was around her. At first, he was silent and then quietly confessed that he was in love with her. The conversation was calmer after that, but I was shocked. Turned out he'd been in love with Tiff for a long time, and I hadn't even noticed. And he didn't even know how to give her a hint. He couldn't, of course, just tell her. I suggested signs of affection, a couple of cute presents, and trifles. Maybe flowers? Impress her with something. She'd get the idea in a week. Jerry said he'd got it and started on it, but in a weird way. Not knowing what was Tiff's favorite flower, he brought her a cactus because everyone likes them. Tiff just left it in the corner of the classroom. When he brought sweets, all the girls were all over him, except for Tiff, who was constantly dieting. And when he decided to impress her with his ball skills and phys ed, he stumbled and fell, to everyone's loud amusement. By the end of the week, though, I realized that I was actually glad Jerry was failing so miserably to hit on Tiff. I mean, I'm not the one to gloat, but I didn't know what had gotten into me. I thought that I should cheer Jerry up, so I suggested that he'd write a letter to Tiff, preferably a poem. My Don Juan friend liked the idea. However, he was really bad at poetry. Only his choice of romantic flowers was worse. His verses and poems were terrible. But hey, Jerry's my friend. But, I can tell him he sucks at poetry, right? So I had to take it into my own hands. Poetry is just rapping, basically. So the feeling is the candy. I was sure that if we put how much he cared for Tiff and how awesome he found her, she'd appreciate it, no matter what the form was. It was easier than I imagined. The lines appeared in my head one after the other. When I thought about Tiff, I thought, how can I make her heart beat any faster? She was beautiful, feminine, she was kind to others, which was an amazing thing about her. When my dog Ralph died last year, she was there for me, a classmate crying on her shoulder. Sometimes, I think only she knows the real me. It took me an evening to write a poem for Tiff, where I put all my feelings in it. They were mine. They were sincere. Maybe I should give her this letter myself, signed by me? Wait, that looked like I was going to confess something more than friendship. But I promised to Jerry. Jerry and I decided to split the poem and send it to Tiff in parts over several days, leaving the signed part last. So at school, Tiff and we sat together, and it wasn't hard to slip the poem parts into her school bag. It all went well. Tiff looked happier, although she didn't share anything with me. Perhaps it was something really personal, something she wouldn't even share with a friend? Would she reciprocate Jerry's feelings? I wanted all the parts of the poem to touch her soul. But at the same moment, I wanted her to say no to Jerry. I was confused. Which side was I even on? Jerry and I eventually agreed I'd give the last part to Tiff personally and talk to her if I had to. So the day had come. I invited Tiff over under the pretense of doing homework together. So I waited for her, just holding the last piece in my hands. And I felt heartache. What if Tiff and Jerry really did get together? They'd be inseparable and I'd become a third wheel. I was sad and I didn't want to imagine my life without Tiff in it. My Tiff, my best friend Tiff. She came at the appointed time and I was still sitting there, kind of scared and nervous, so I handed her the envelope in silence. Tiff sat next to me. She said she'd understood I wrote these poems. There was this heavy silence in the air, kind of awkward, and I turned my face away. Good God, I wanted the ground to just swallow me up at that very moment. I could hear my own heart beating in fear. Tiff told me to just look her in the eye. I was scared, but couldn't ignore the firmness in her voice. When I did, she kissed me. She kissed me, and it wasn't a friendly kiss on the cheek. It was a real kiss on the lips, with all the care and tenderness I knew Tiff for. So it's been a few weeks, Tiff and I are officially dating. I did tell her about the initial Jerry plot when I hadn't yet realized that was what I felt for Tiff too. By the way, about Jerry, it turned out our awkward friend was in love with just about every girl in class. With a bit of tweaking of my poem, he gave it to some girls and he found his happiness too. Friends, I hope that on the February 14th, St. Valentine's Day, all of you have the person to say I love you to. And if you don't, maybe it's someone who's really close by. Maybe this person is much closer than you think. So please subscribe to our channel and press that little bell to know when we post our next video. Please like this video and share it with your friends. Have a great day!